Good evening, everyone. It is 6:02. We're going to call the Environmental Services Utility Board meeting to order for Monday, July 15th, 2024. At this time is public comments. Do we have any public comments for the ESU meeting tonight? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to roll call.
Mayor Curtis.
Present.
Alderwoman Lewis.
Here.
Alderman Cruz. Here. Alderman O'Brien.
Here.
Alderman Osinga.
Present.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Here.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Here.
Alderman Jones.
Present.
Clerk Gall.
Here.
Thank you.
We do have a quorum. Next is item 3. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June 17th, 2024?
So moved, Mayor Curtis.
We have a motion from Alderman Osinga. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Alderman Jones. Is there any questions, comments, changes, or additions to the minutes? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderwoman Lewis.
Aye.
Alderman Cruz. Alderman O'Brien.
Aye.
Alderman Osinga.
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Aye.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Jones.
Aye.
Clerk Gall.
Aye.
Minutes are approved for June 17th, 2024. Next, we'll move on to item 4, that is approval of the bills. You should have the bills in front of you for the date of July 15th in the amount of $716,425.77. You also have the total from the July 1st bills that were $303,835.74 for a total of $1,020,261.51. Is there a motion to approve the bills for ESU?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from Alderwoman Swanson. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from Alderwoman Lewis. Any questions or comments regarding the bills?
I do have a question, Mayor.
Alderman Osinga?
Check 35188, Sharp Cut Lawn Care for the month of June is almost about $7,600. What exactly do they mow?
Everything? No, I'm just kidding.
Obviously, they must.
I guess the question I would want to find out is if it's 1 month or 2 months. I'm not sure. But they mow Administration Hall. They take care of this parking lot here. They do take care of the depot area. They do take care of the parking lot behind First Trust Bank. They also take care of along Schuyler Avenue, the grass area that's along Farmers Market, the Farmers Market parking lot. Basically, any of the city parking lots and the buildings downtown. We do get I'm going to defer to comptrollers, a 50-50 split back from KDC on lawn care.
Yes, Mayor. On some of those parking lots, we get the 50-50 split. But also during the month of June, typically, I don't have that invoice in front of me, but typically that's when they're doing all like the beds with all the mulch and everything. That takes up quite a bit of time. They only do that. They put it to bed and then they wake it up, basically. So twice a year.
Thank you.
Superintendent Newton.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that Elizabeth is correct that these invoices had a lot of that mulch that was done in the beds, so that's why it's higher than normal.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding the bills? Roll call.
Alderwoman Lewis.
Aye.
Alderman Cruz.
Aye.
Alderman O'Brien.
Aye.
Alderman Osinga.
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Aye.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Jones.
Aye.
Clerk Gall.
Aye.
Bills are approved for July 15th, 2024. We'll move on to item 5 and get into the monthly activity reports. We'll start with the ESU Street and Alley Report. Mr. Lopez?
Good evening. Pretty much everything is in the report. Our monthly activities usually is about the same right now. We're keeping up on code tickets and tree trimming to prepare for like an evening that we may encounter tonight with the strong winds. All the pre-work we did on the trees may help us, hopefully helps us without falling branches, especially in upper and lower Riverview. So.
Any questions for Mr. Lopez? How's the street patcher working?
It's right now. We haven't been using it right now. We've been doing cold patch. Some of the projects that we did, like we did over there by you, we prep because we use cold patch first, and then we go over with the spray patch because it takes less material. So it's a way to save on cost that way.
I just had a question. Do you know when the tree trimming will make it to the 5th Ward?
We do trim there when we get phone calls, but I'll look into that for you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
That's something that Mr. Hasek takes good care of, and our arborist, so I'll make sure that I pass that along to him.
Thank you, sir.
Alderman Jones?
And Director, I want to really appreciate you. Now, that alley was pretty rough. I'm going to have to be nice to my mayor and see how much money he going to find for us over there. We got a couple of alleys that are just bad, and he did a good job. You know, best he can. I get it. You know, I get it, because we have a couple of them that are kind of rough. Yep. And, you know, our 150, well, we went, I think it was like 280 this year. We went, you know, in the ward, because we had 2 years. So there's a lot of things, and I'm trying to let my people know that we're on it, but, you know, we can't get everything done this year, but I appreciate that.
Any other questions? Oh, Alderwoman Johnson?
Thank you. I wanted to let you know, and Mr. Hasek and Mr. Collins, that a tree was taken down today, that I think every day it leaned a little bit more, so it got taken down today. So I'm very appreciative of that. On
Stoddard?
Stoddard. And they did a great job cleaning up around this yield sign at Stoddard last week or the week before last as well. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, just one other thing. I noticed that we got 350 calls for the month of June. Me doing a little math, I just divided that by 20 days for 4 work weeks, and that's about 17 and a half calls a day.
We get quite a few calls. There's to her as well, to my phone, to Frank's personal lines. We deal phone calls all day long.
But I was just saying that 17 and a half calls a day doesn't seem like a lot.
Is it a wide range, garbage, is it?
It's garbage,
pickup?
it's tree trimming, it's holes, it's, you know, get a lot of missed garbage. We deal with a lot of that stuff, you know, and just 1045, squirrels, cats, you know, stuff like that. It's a variety of calls that we get.
Man, can you speak to, while we're on this, I don't think that some people don't think that they don't know that we don't have a garbage pickup, you know, for the city. I believe they think that.
Yeah, they think we're in charge of it, yeah, but
Are we in charge of garbage? Can you speak to that? We don't have, I don't think.
No, so we are in a 5-year contract that I believe expires in 2025, December 31st of 2025 with Republic Services. They're responsible for all pickup, that is garbage, recycling, and lawn waste. DPW, and correct me if I'm saying anything wrong, they do go through the alleys every couple weeks. By the time they get through, they do pick up the large tree trimming of branches, or if we had a storm tonight, they would pick those up as they come through. But all garbage is picked up through Republic. They also are supposed to pick up 1 bulk item per week. Sometimes people will put out 3 items, they're only going to pick up 1. I think that's a lot of the calls that DPW gets, is either that bulk item was picked up, or there's a misunderstanding that, you know, a chair, a mattress, and a dresser was put out, and only 1 item was picked up. But that is their responsibility also. The only thing that DPW does pick up, and you'll see it in your bills here, because we do a lot of dumping, is when there's a code ticket that is written, and the resident or the property owner does not pick up their, I'll call it their bulk, or their pile of stuff that might be in the alley or on the property, DPW then will go and pick that up and charge the property owner for the cost of picking that up. They will pick up, the customer should know, or the resident should know, that they can call DPW in advance, and it's actually a very affordable price. It's much cheaper than if they have to do it through a code ticket. But if there's a large pile of rubbish or material that needs to be picked up, they'll come out and give an estimate, and it's usually, I don't want to give numbers, but it's usually less than $100, way less than that, for them to come out with a front loader, pick it up, and haul it away. But that has to be done in advance. They need to call DPW before code goes out and writes the ticket.
And code's been really good at leaving courtesy notices on the door, and they'll give us a call and say, hey, we had a courtesy door hanger on the door, and, you know, they told us to call you, and so that has been successful. We put the door hangers out, so get quite a few phone calls of that.
Well, because some of the constituents, they see the trucks running and they see the bulldozer, and they just believe that we're supposed to clean the alleys, pretty much. That's
yeah.
what is in their mind, and we're not getting it done, and y'all aren't doing your job. I said, but I don't think that we don't just clean alleys like that. you know?
I don't think we run into that as much anymore because we haven't done that in about 10 years, so a lot of the residents are familiar with it now. You know, we do get seldom calls to say, hey, you guys didn't pick this up, and we haven't done that in 10 years with the garbage company. So we're communicating that with residents, but we don't get very many of those phone calls anymore.
Okay.
We can try,
I do. I just,
what we can try and do is, it's not the all be end all, but maybe we can do some type of social media post about it and then run it on Channel 4 with some of the rules about that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions for Mr. Lopez? Okay. Thank you. Next is the ESU Technical Services Report. Ms. Hall?
Good evening. Technical Services is running in a routine manner. Right now, our crews are working to get things prepared for the Music Fest. We continue to get requests from Chief Kidwell to deploy Verkadas. So we're constantly working on that as he reaches out to us. City lights, we have a list of city lights that we are working to get new bulbs put in or fuses, whatever it takes to get those working. We are continuing with the IDOT mast arm inspections. We have to turn those in and do that annually, as well as preventive maintenance on all 51 intersections. The Station Street light is complete that we were working on. That is 100% done. I will be checking with Outson this week to see when they'll start putting up those 4 poles on Route 50. So he has those, so I just want to get like a ETA on when he'll be getting it.
So those poles have been delivered?
4 of them has.
And that's on the curve of Fair and Hobby there?
Yep.
So for wherever ways, seems to be a magnet over there. If you go past Valspar, Sherwin-Williams, and then you head, as you're heading towards Bradley on Route 50, that curve there is missing six poles, so it's pretty dark right there. We've got 4 in, you said?
4 in.
So we did go ahead. We do expect when they redo Indiana and Harrison Avenue, that a lot of that lighting will get redone, but that is not expected to start for at least 2 years, so we just thought it was a long time to go without having lighting there, so we at least got 4 of those poles going up.
So I'll let you know as soon as I hear from them, get started on that. Summer Help is moving right along. They did get the police garage right next to us painted, so that is complete. They have done all the skirts on Court Street, and now we are trying to get over to the Historical District and to the depot to get that ready for, you know, the Music Fest. So, and that's all I have.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Hall? Alderman Marzak.
She's probably sick of hearing from me calling in lights that need to be turned on, but I just like to publicly thank her for, getting on the lights that I do direct her towards and being able to do what nobody else has been doing, for 7 years or 8 years. She got that one on station fixed, but it's appreciated.
Alderman Jones?
So that light that was on the corner, I got a call from the constituent right there on the alley of Pine. Did it ever get turned in on Pine and that cottage? We talked about on the dead end.
I will have to go back and check into that.
I think he called me a couple days ago, and I'm like, man, I don't know. I haven't been down there. It's kind of bad for me to.
I'll check into it and I'll
Okay.
give you a call tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Hall? Okay, thank you. We'll move into the Utility Sewer Services. Superintendent Newton?
Just a few things that I'd like to highlight this month. We had JF Brennan come in last Friday to help us with the debris that was on the dam. They got a lot of that removed. Where they launched down at Beckman Park, they took a few trees off the buoy line and moved down to the dam, got most of that debris off, and went to the railroad bridge and got most of that. There is still a couple logs that are on the dam, but I think that it's still net positive. There's a lot less pressure on the bladder, a lot less debris than there was. The one tree, it's pretty massive. It's just the one little piece of the root ball that's still stuck there. I'm hoping, I got my fingers crossed, that over time it'll work its way free. On Friday when I left, there was 3 logs that were on the dam. Now there's only 2. So again, I hope that as the water rises and lowers, it's going to eventually work those last remaining couple of trees off the dam.
Just, can I touch base on that? Because I do know there were some questions about, the city did brought in that company. So IDOT has been doing some clearing up on Schuyler Bridge when they pushed that down to the railroad bridge into the dam. The concern is they will get back, but when they will get back, we were concerned of 2 factors, is those trees sitting on the dam cause 2 problems. I'll let you explain. One is the raising of the bladder, and 2, potentially tearing of the bladder.
Sure, right.
We didn't feel there was, and then with the regatta on Labor Day, we actually need that bladder up as high as possible for the depth of the river. But Zach's concern was those 2 things, if you want to talk about them.
Yeah, with all the debris, all the weight that was pushing down on the bladder, it was running the air compressor almost constantly. The motor was getting very hot. We put a couple of large fans on it to keep that temperature under control, but that was very concerning to me. I did not want to lose that air compressor, have a repeat of events that happened last summer, and I did not want to risk puncturing the bladder, which would be another very bad scenario. So I thought that was the best course of action, is to get that removed by any means necessary, even moving up to the railroad bridge and kind of getting that, because eventually all of that debris is going to make its way to the dam and get hung up there. So it was best just to deal with it while they were there, and most of it is gone. Gar Creek, we're still bypass pumping at Gar Creek. As I told you last month, we were waiting for a lot of the components to come in. The good news is that a lot of those components have come in. At this point, we're only waiting for the pump 2 overhaul to get finished and the main starter panel. So as soon as GAI gets those in, they're going to work it out with us to come in and get that going. We did have an emergency at another lift station over the weekend at 308. The pump got blocked, and it was not pumping down the wet well, and the level was raising quite rapidly. With the hotel there, it was a little bit concerning. The reason is we have 2 pumps at that lift station. One pump is out of service because of a broken part. We ordered that part. We got it in fairly quickly, but when it came in, it was broke. It had a large crack in it. It's a stainless steel 1-piece casting, and it really wasn't good. So we asked for another one, and we are still waiting for that. Fortunately, we kept the broke part because that ended up being what we needed to use. We got that pump in service with the broke piece. It's not ideal, but it worked. We were able to get the pump going, pump down the wet well, and then today we were able to get that blockage cleared. So it's all good. We still waiting for a replacement part, but sure that it should be here soon. But we're okay.
Any questions for sewer services? Alderman Marzak.
I recall, I could be wrong, but did we not get a couple backup pumps, like last year or something? I mean, do we have, obviously, all these different pumps, they're different, right, in different locations?
Right.
I mean, would it make sense to have extra backup pumps, for certain locations on hand?
No, it wasn't really the pumps this time. It was just a piece of it. So those kind of parts, it's really not one that you would expect to fail often.
Gotcha.
I hate to say it, but it's never happened before. So,
Right.
I think we'll be okay once we get the replacement part.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Newton? Okay, thank you. We'll keep you there for a second. We'll move on to Lab Services Report. Mr. McGinnis is not here tonight, and his report is in here. If you have any questions, Superintendent Newton can try and answer them for you.
Yeah, just a couple of things that I wanted to point out. You know, you can see the flows for the big two industries that we have. I did want to note that we are starting to see a partial shutdown and reduced flows in Kinsing. This is something that they have communicated to us a couple months ago, and it's expected to last until February. The other thing is that the lab has been busy doing discharge monitoring, report quality assurance. That's one of the things that's required by the NPDES permit, and they are almost finished with that process.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Just on the Kinsing flow, is there a reason for that? Are they doing like a partial shutdown or?
Yeah, I believe they were having a difficulty getting a certain kind of product for their process, and they were using that time to kind of overhaul the lines a little. But they expect that everything will be updated and ready to go by mid-February.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you. We're going to move on to item B under that, and that is financials. And we have no financials this month, as we talked about before. We're less than 60 days into billing right now, so next month we'll start to have some expenses and income that we can report for you. We're going to get into the budget here under new business, but if there's any questions about financials at this point that you might have, but we'll bring you that updated as it starts to make some sense here after 60 days. Okay. We're going to move into old business, hydro plant update. Might just keep you up here for a while.
Yeah, so, right, the debris from the dam is gone. Talking with NORCAN, they have reached out to the foundry for the turbine blade casting. The other issue that came up is they have been trying to secure a contractor to do the overhaul for the gearbox. They're having a very difficult time to do that because of the uniqueness and intricacy of the gearbox. I guess apparently, like a lot of the actuation components that control the position of the blades are in that gearbox, and for that reason, a lot of the companies, they thought it was outside of something that they can do. So NORCAN feels like they can do it in-house for us for not any additional cost, so they just asked for a few more weeks to get a plan together, that a process and a timeline for that overhaul. So I'm waiting for that, to receive that from them.
Any questions regarding the hydro? Slow moving, but it is moving, so.
Right.
Okay. Item B is additional ComEd light request per alderpersons. This is basically just discussion only. I believe all the alderpersons should have received an email from Superintendent Newton with 1, 2, or 3 of your most important places where you might want to see a new light installed. We still do not have a cost for that yet, but we've kind of budgeted some dollars for that. Each location is a different cost, but we want to start with, working with the ESU team, is where is your 1 or 2 or 3 locations, probably more likely 1 or 2. You probably have 8 to 15, but what are your 2 most important locations where there's not a light located at, whether it's the middle of a block, middle of a long block, something along that line that you think needs additional lighting. We just wanted to put it back. Several alderpersons have responded back, but we haven't heard from everybody. And we'd like to do it all at one time if we could. So if you can respond to Mr. Newton, it's July 15th. Ideally, if you could do it in the next week, that'd be great. No later than July 31st, but really if you could do it in the next week, that'd be ideal so that they can put a plan together. and work with ComEd of how we do that. Item C is Basin 9 update. You do have, I'm going to invite Superintendent back up. This is in the, Basin 9 is what you approved earlier this spring. That is mostly, we'll call it the First Ward area and part of Seventh Ward, but it's basically the north half of the city. I'll call it. It's everything running from the railroad to our north boundary lines out to Grinnell Road and the industrial parks out there, and Route 50. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Newton if you want to give us an update of where you're at right now.
Sure. I tried to include a screenshot of the dashboard for the manhole inspections. So there were 251 manholes in this Basin 9 project area, and 157 of the manholes had defects. The total number of defects in these manholes were 273. So I tried to include off to the side of the dashboard, you can kind of see what a typical defect might look like. You've got some inflow and infiltration that's coming in around the seal. There were others that had roots and just the typical sort of thing, deteriorating bricks, things that allow a lot of I&I to come in. Now, my team and I, we have started the process of televising the sewer lines, and today we came across a good video of one. So you can see this is leaking awfully bad, and we're really just a few 100 feet into televising. I think we've got about 73,000 more feet to go, but we've already found one that's leaking pretty bad.
Where's that?
I believe that is on Drive.
Just kind of wanted to show you, that was one of the areas, if you remember the map, there was a lot of red there. That is just water that does not need to be treated at the sewer plant. That is just entering the system, and that is running 24/7,
Yeah.
as far as we know.
Yeah, it
So
seems
we
like
showed
it.
you some of those videos down in Riverview. This is one of the areas we think that was just uncovered. So this is, when people ask you, what are we spending this money on? It's a lot of money, but it's preventing that unnecessary water that doesn't need to be going into the sewer system and doesn't need to be going down to Karma to be treated. That should just be going into some type of ground
You're right. It's
or
just
storm drain or
groundwater.
something. It's just groundwater. So, but we wanted to at least show you that's what they're working on. And this is your team that's doing those inspections now, correct?
That's correct, yes. I guess I was a little bit, I should have pointed out in my earlier report, I included a couple of screenshots of a couple of sewer atlases that we have. You can look at those pictures, but we do have a new way to use our sewer maps. It's all online, fully online. This is something that I've wanted to do for a long time. We can get rid of the big, bulky, huge paper maps and move to a more convenient online setting. The other map was basically the results of the last CCTV project that was done in Lower Riverview and Hillcrest. All of those results have been plotted on a map, so you can see precisely where all the defects are. That was one of the reasons why I had a few of my guys in the crew go through NASCO training so they can properly learn how to code those. So we can just take our CCTV data and it can get plotted on a map just like that. The good thing about that is you know, we have that data and we can act on it when we have the ability to. And I guess the last thing I'd like to point out too is this also gives us the ability to locate laterals. Now, remember, one of the CMOM requirements that we have to follow is we have to know where all of the inflow sources are to our system. And when I initially heard that, that kind of freaked me out a little bit because we have 10,000 structures in the city. So I've got to know where all 10,000 of those inflow points are. And that was a little bit daunting. But using this, we can map those lateral points. And this makes the job a lot easier. So we can take this as we go, as we do these CCTV projects.
So we wanted to show you that's progressing. Again, it's a lot of money that we're spending, but it's money well spent. The public doesn't really see what happens underground, but it's a big deal, and we're seeing some positive results even from what we're doing on reducing our flows into the Carmer wastewater treatment plant. So we hope this will just continue, as this is going to be a long-term project. This is something that's going to be probably a 10-year project to do the entire city, but we'll continue working at it a little bit at a time. Any questions regarding Basin 9 update?
Mayor.
Alderwoman Johnson.
If I remember correctly, the state will be doing Fair Street and Hobby Avenue. Maybe not Hobby, but Fair Street.
Yes, they will.
So-
Not Hobby, but Fair
But
Street,
Fair.
Indiana, and Harrison.
Yes. So will we make those sewer repairs ahead of them, or how?
Yeah, we would expect by the time to get to that project, because they're not going to do, all they're going to do is just go around the top or whatever. They're not going to do any underground repair.
Okay,
But all that repair is actually done without any digging, correct?
Yeah, well, potentially, yeah.
I mean, the manhole covers has little square areas and
Right.
stuff, but we would expect those repairs would be done before they do the road. So when they come back and do the road, it'll be perfect. That's the hope.
thank you.
Any other questions for Superintendent? Okay, thank you. We have no unfinished business, so we're going to move on to new business. Item A, we have for you the ESU 2024-2025 fiscal year budget. We'll be having second reading at City Council tonight. You have that in your packet, and I'm going to defer to Assistant Comptroller Rogers. If, you have a one-page kind of handout that's been passed out to you that kind of highlights the overall expenditures and revenues and where we're at. And I'll just defer if you have any questions or comments you'd like to add to that, and any questions from the committee members. We do, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Alderwoman Johnson.
And I apologize, because I think you went over this before. If I read the budget in our packet, like for Medicare line 451, there's a significant decrease, which is good, but it just seems like a really big decrease on something that we need. And then,
We
like,
split those costs. Everything used to go directly to admin. There was no split between those employer costs. And starting with this year, they're split between Department 10 and Department 50.
okay, thank
So
you.
if you look later in the packet, like the last page of the packet, there's brand-new items that showed up that are picking up the other side of that.
Thank you. That rings a bell now.
You will see in here on page 1, under capital, we have put in there this year 1.525 million of capital. It's a very large number, but again, there's a lot of things that we have about roughly $1 million of that allocated for purchases and repairs. We still have about $500,000 that is unallocated. We've got that in there for a lot of different things. I can tell you right now, we could spend $500,000 real easy. Basin 9, doing repairs, we could eat all that up in a heartbeat right there. But there's other things that need to be done that are coming up with maintenance within the city of Kankakee. Again, we talk about small items that the public doesn't notice, but repairing the east stairs, they had to be tuck pointed and fixed, the stairs to the police station. We still have to do the tuck pointing on this building. We did a couple roof repairs on some areas on this building here that were smaller. Seal coating the parking lots in the city of Kankakee. The admin's HVAC system, the boiler is completely out, and their parts are no longer available for that system that was installed in 2006, 8, somewhere in there, 6, 7. Those are items that, again, the public doesn't see much, but these are things that we've had a lot of long-term maintenance items that haven't been addressed, and we're trying to do that while we can right now. Overall, the budget is still very conservative. We believe our sewer revenue could be higher than we budgeted, but we're, again, preparing for slowdowns like we're hearing about with Kensing and other things that we predict that could happen in the economy right now of a pullback. So this is, I believe, a very conservative budget, but also still allows a lot of money for repairs that are needed. Quite frankly, there's a lot more money we could use to do repairs, but 1.5 million is almost $500,000 more than we spent last year, and we have the wherewithal to do that. there is no questions for the budget, I would like to ask for a recommendation from this committee to forward this to City Council for full approval.
So move.
We have a motion from Alderman O'Brien to recommend the ESU budget to full City Council. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from Alderman Osinga. Is there any questions or comments? Roll call?
Alderwoman Lewis.
Aye.
Alderman Cruz.
Aye.
Alderman O'Brien.
Aye.
Alderman Ozinga.
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Aye.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Jones.
Aye.
Clerk Gall.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, that'll be on the City Council agenda for tonight for approval. We have an item B. You have a proposal that will also be on City Council approval tonight. We wanted to include that with the issue. This is the River Drive Storm Line proposal. I'm going to ask Superintendent Newton to come up and talk about this. This is actually something that he brought to my attention 3 years ago. This is the area that is over by River Drive is over by the, off of Kennedy Avenue, by the old travel agency there. There's now Barman Bolin Law Offices all the way down to the apartments by the YMCA back there. That is River Drive there. We've had some issues. I'll let Superintendent Newton
Yeah.
talk about this.
So we've got a couple of storm lines that run from basically from about Kennedy Drive towards the river. They've got a couple of breaks in them. Like the mayor said, it's been a few years. They're not getting any better. So this proposal is to work with Piggish Engineering to figure out basically how in the world we get equipment back in this area to get these things fixed. It's a nice area. It's very quiet, removed from the busyness of Kennedy Drive, but it's very, in some places, very steep, very hard to get some equipment back there. So we're going to have to do some surveying and get some temporary easements and to get equipment and materials back there.
Alderwoman Swanson.
You know, that I've been communicating with someone who has the issue, and he said knock on his door, you can have any permission to bring any equipment you want into his yard. You've got the address, so I know you know where it is, so.
We would probably take him up on
He
that.
said you can bring any equipment back there you need to, and he can help you, because he has, I believe, the lot to the north of him also. So please reach out to him, because he is anxious to get it worked on.
There's even some discussion. Superintendent, you talked about potentially having even barge in on the water there potentially?
Yeah, the one that's further north, it's in an area that's it's so steep and tight between the houses. Yeah, it's not out of the question that we might have to barge equipment and materials in. So I think this is going to be either way. I think we're going to have to deal with the state for permitting, and that's a process in and of itself.
So, again, it's not getting any better back there. This is just storm water. It should be going in the river, but it's also deteriorating the backyards of the residents that are there. So you have before you a proposal for $21,920. Is there a recommendation to forward this to City Council for approval tonight?
So move, Mayor.
We have a motion from Alderwoman Lewis. Is there a second?
I'll second it. It doesn't make any, go
I'll
ahead.
go Alderwoman Swanson, a second. Any questions or comments regarding the proposal? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderwoman Lewis.
Aye.
Alderman Cruz.
Aye.
Alderman O'Brien.
Aye.
Alderman Ozinga.
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Aye.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Jones.
Aye. Aye.
I need to abstain due to a potential conflict.
Okay, that proposal is recommended to full City Council. You'll see that on the agenda tonight. We do not have a need for an executive session tonight. It is now 6:41. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Prude and a second from Alderwoman Lewis. Did I say that correctly? Okay. Trying to listen here. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.